To the July 28th Lakeville School Board meeting. It is 6 p.m. and we are kicking off here with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can all rise if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll start with roll call to my far right.
Tony Reichenberger.
Matt Swanson.
Harley Anderson.
Oh, Amber Cameron, sorry.
Michael Bauman.
Paul Carbone.
Brian Thompson.
All right, thanks, everybody. I've just been informed that we are skipping good news for tonight, and there also is no board communication separate from our discussion in 5A when we're going to talk about the board vacancy, but we will get to that. So with that, could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, first by Carbone, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Anderson, all in favor? Or sorry, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. With that, we'll move to public comment. I'm going to read this public comment information. The board opens the floor for 30 minutes at every formal meeting to allow the public to address the board with comments and concerns. To participate in public comment, individuals must have registered in advance using the form provided on the website by noon on the Monday before the scheduled public comment session. There will be no board response during the session. Public comments framed as complaints and/or concerns about students and/or staff are not appropriate in a public forum due to data privacy laws. These comments should be addressed to the administration outside of a public meeting. Likewise, complaints about school board members should be privately directed to the board chair and/or superintendent. No formal action will be taken on a topic presented during public comment. As necessary, the administration will follow up with the appropriate personnel on any concerns that need to be individually addressed. Also, if necessary, the board will follow up during board communications at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Individual remarks are limited to 3 minutes. The board will provide a signal when the participant has 30 seconds remaining of their time. Please try to keep audience noise to a minimum to allow everyone the opportunity to speak uninterrupted. All right, with that, we have one speaker tonight. I'd like to invite Rex King to the podium.
All right. Thank you all for having me. Some of you I know. I'm a father to 3 children. All 3 of my children attend Eastview Elementary. One of my, obviously COVID has changed the world, but last year my youngest came home and said, is 6 years old, said, there's a man at our school who wears a wig, bright red lipstick, and puts bubbles in his butt and his boobs. So that prompted me to ask my older children, like, what is my youngest talking about? My older 2 children did say that there is, in fact, a person who works at Eastview who does wear a wig and lipstick and other features. So next day I called and I spoke to the principal, or asked to speak to the principal. The principal told me that the district attorney basically said that due to client confidentiality or something like that, that he could not answer a lot of the questions I had. He was very nice and we had a discussion. I then noticed last spring when the yearbooks came out that we have a staff page and it lists the staff members. Some elementary schools, Oak Hills Elementary, lists the staff members, and it also has a not pictured portion of their yearbook that lists in name who is not in attendance for the pictures. Eastview Elementary School, people are not pictured and people are not listed. So I know it's kind of a hot topic in 2026, but my question is, why are the staff members, it's very hard to have access to our children's school. Safety is a big part, trying to get in, trying to get access. It's not the way that we grew up in the schools. But my question is, how do we know who is working in our children's school? If they're not listed in the yearbook and things like that, how do we know who exactly is being hired? If my children's school has before and after pictures or employees who are primary, not non-normal hour employees, but they're pictured in the yearbook, or they're listed in other schools, not pictured, but they do list a name. I also question what we have as age appropriateness. The fact that my 6-year-old came home and is having this discussion with me is tough as a father. It's tough to be here and love the community and have to answer those questions. That was a question that I anticipated from my 15-year-old. Well, we're 9 years early and we had to have the discussion. So I wonder about what happens there. What happens with people who apply, what name is used, and how do we know who is working with our children in our schools, specifically the undeveloped brain of our elementary schools, and how do our kids respond, or how do they act, and how are we supposed to parent that discussion that we'd never anticipated having to have. So just some things I wanted to bring to attention of who is in fact there. Why are we not listing them in the yearbook so us parents can know about them? I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. All right, with that, we'll move to consideration of the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
First by Anderson, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Reichenberger. Are there any items in the consent agenda that board members would like further discussion on prior to approval? Okay, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say yes or aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. Next, we are moving on to item number 5, reports and discussions. So since our last school board meeting in June, Kim Baker informed the school board and Superintendent Baumann that she is resigning from the school board effective June 29th. That was her last day of service to the district and in her formal capacity on the school board. This is our first board meeting since that resignation. And so as part of that, first we acknowledge that Kim has opted to resign from the school board, as is her right, or anyone's right. And also, we need to then acknowledge that her resignation results in a vacancy on our school board. Our school board is intended to have 7 board members, and right now, officially, we have 6. And so we need to have a discussion tonight about how we want to deal with the vacancy to fill Kim's seat. I think it's important for the board, I think, knows this, but the public to know that the seat that's vacant from Kim Baker's resignation is up for election in November, with that role starting formally in January. I had a couple of different conversations with the Minnesota School Board Association with Terry Morrow about what happens in a situation like this. And if a school board member resigns when there's less than 2 years left of their term, but there's less than 2 years, but no more than 90 days, which we are in, there are 2 options. The board is required to attempt to fill the vacancy because we're in that window. And so the board could either establish an application process where we take nominations from the community and have some sort of interview process and see if 4 or more board members agree to someone who has applied. Or we could go through a board nomination process where we solicit names ourselves and discuss our nominations and see if we can get a majority of the board to agree on someone to fill the vacancy from the nomination process. Either way, whatever option we choose as a board to kind of pursue, we would go through that, determine that process. What do we want to do? We would go through that process and complete it and identify the person. And then at the next school board meeting, after we've agreed on who the person is, we'd have a resolution filling the school board vacancy by appointment. And so we'd formally vote on that at that point. And then once we vote on the resolution, and assuming it would pass, the board is required to wait 30 days for the public to petition about our appointment. And so yeah, it takes 30 days before the person could then formally be part of the school board. Any questions about that before I go into what Terry recommended or what other boards typically do? Yep, Director Carbone?
Yeah, Amber, so if somebody was appointed, and it would take a minimum of 30 days, because basically
Correct.
what you just said is the public has to have time to respond if they wish.
Right.
Then, if that person's not an existing, one of the, I believe, 8 candidates who filed for the election in November, then January 1st, that person is null and void.
Correct.
That's correct, right?
Yep.
Unless, can one of the candidates apply or try?
Yeah, so I think the first step would be deciding if we want to do an application process or a nomination process. And either way, I suppose a person who has filed to run, who is not currently sitting on the board,
Right.
could either apply or be nominated by the board, and yes, they could serve in that role. But if they then lost their election, they would be off of the board January 1, of course. I asked Terry Morrow from School Board Association, what do most boards do in a situation like this when we have like 3 to 4 months at most of filling this vacancy? And he said in most cases, with our timeline, a school board would invite back a previously elected board member who has resigned, just because they could step in pretty much right away. They know what it means to be on the school board. They know how to read financial documents. They know the work. And so that was his recommendation, that we might consider that just because of our timeline, but we still have that option of either deciding a nomination process, an application process. I'm in favor of me personally considering bringing back a retired board member, just for education, like they will know how to hit the ground running, and we wouldn't have to onboard someone for just like a very minimal amount of time. But obviously, this whole board needs to decide how we want to approach this. So I think first it's a discussion on what do we want the process to be, and then after we decide that, then that would warrant the next steps in how we approach the vacancy. Any thought? What are people thinking, or what questions do you have?
The first question that pops into my mind, considering that we do have an election actually, and filing just closed less than an hour ago, what is the possibility of just leaving it open, and if a non-board member wins a seat, because there's going to be one person, at least one person who, because Kim's seat is open, we just elevate them immediately following that election, that whoever gets the highest vote total for non-board seat members.
We could have that be part of our decision. So if a board member who's not currently sitting wins, which at least one person will, right?
Right.
Has to, right? Then we could take that person, I think we can make that our plan. However, between now and November, we would need to attempt to fill the vacancy.
But if we
Regardless.
But if we appoint somebody to that position, do they not have that position until January at that point? Unless
They would, but we
resign?
we need to start the vacancy process now. We cannot, per state statute, we're not allowed to wait until November to name the person. Yeah, Matt?
I mean, I think the statute requires us to attempt to appoint someone, right? So it doesn't say what that entails and how much effort we have to put into it. Yeah.
Yep, Director Thompson?
What does the statute say specifically? Because I recall, it doesn't say you have to make an attempt. It just says, here's the verbiage.
Yeah.
And I also want to be very mindful that there is no school board police department. There is no governing body that tells the school board, you're doing it wrong, or we are a independent body to make our own decisions, our own policies. And so I've had the unfortunate to go through this process just once, but we elected, what was it, the fourth vote getter or something, I think, from the last election. We also, previously to that, there was a vacancy, and the previous board elected not to do anything.
Did a nomination process.
They did not do.
They did. Carly applied.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, that was actually, was that towards the end, or was that towards the beginning? I thought for some reason, the previous board elected not to do
That's not-
anything right away. They waited. I'll have to double check. I feel like, I like to, I don't know if it's appropriate to have this discussion now, but I would prefer if we discuss this at the next working session in more detail, because I don't have the statutes information in front of me. And I'd like to do a little bit more research on kind of like how we've done it in the past. Because I know that we had an appointment process, and then well, that's the only one that I've done.
So
It's like
here-
I haven't done a candidate.
I can read the state statute.
Yeah,
Michael
go
just
ahead.
brought it up. It's very short.
Perfect.
So I
What
think
does
it's
it
easy
say?
to understand.
Yeah.
It says any vacancy on the board other than a vacancy described in subdivision 4, which is about if someone has to step away from the board because of a personal illness, the vacancy must be filled by board appointment at a regular or special meeting. The appointment shall be evidenced by a resolution entered into the minutes and shall be effective 30 days following adoption of the resolution.
Can you repeat that one more time? Because it says,
Any
the board says you have to appoint someone through a board meeting. And so when we identify a candidate, it says that to acknowledge that candidate, it must be done through a board meeting. Is that my understanding within that sentence?
So what Terry said from Minnesota School Board Association is that the school board, the 6 of us,
Yep.
would have to vote on candidates. So it could,
Agree, but
Yep.
read the previous sentence that you just said, something about the school board must what?
I'm going to read the whole thing.
Okay, good.
Any vacancy on the board, other than the illness, must be filled by board appointment at a regular or special meeting.
Can you pause there? Okay.
Yep.
So how I interpret that is that once a candidate has been identified, or whoever, that individual must be appointed through the board, by the
Correct.
board,
Yes.
at a board meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So how I'm interpreting that so far is that it doesn't say when you have to get someone, how you get someone, who you get someone. It's just that when an individual has been identified, it has to be appointed legally, or whatever you want to call, officially, through at a board meeting. If you want to repeat that one more, just if that's how I'm understanding it.
Correct. So the board has to vote and have a majority agree on the person who would
Okay.
fill the vacancy.
So within that state statute, it says, again, we're making sure we're on the same page. If no one else is aligned with me,
Go ahead.
all right, it says that, you want to repeat it one more time?
Okay.
Sorry.
Basically, yes, I'll repeat it, but what it's saying is the board has to vote if someone can fill the vacancy.
No, well, they're two different things. The first one,
Any vacancy on the board
Yep.
must be filled by board appointment
Yep.
at a regular or special meeting.
got it. All right. So again, how I'm interpreting that is that when a candidate has been identified, officially, they cannot be on the board unless it's done through at the board meeting. Okay.
Well,
go
yeah,
ahead.
of course, yes.
Yep.
This board has to vote
Totally
with
agree.
a minimum of 4 of us.
What is the next
It
sentence?
addresses the what, not the how.
The what?
Yep. So then it says the appointment shall be evidenced by a resolution, which
Yep.
would have their name, of course, entered into the minutes.
Yep.
And shall be effective 30 days following adoption of the resolution, because we need the petition period, where the community could say, no, we don't agree with the board. You know, they can,
Got it.
we don't like X person.
Okay.
But wouldn't
No,
it
it's
just,
just-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Matt's got it.
Matt,
I
you're
mean,
next.
Brian, am I understanding you correctly? You're arguing it does explain the how. It doesn't explain that we actually have to do it, but if it's done, it's by an appointment at a regular or a special meeting. So if
Exactly.
you're going to fill it.
That's how I'm
must
interpreting
be
it. And
done.
so, because it gives the board the latitude to decide how we want to operate and how we want to govern as a board.
Yeah.
And if we.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by operate and govern?
Well, if we believe that it's in the best interest for our community, the best interest for the school board to have 7 board members for a very short period of time, then the board gets to decide if that's what we want to do. The state statute says if you want to have that role filled, then we will not acknowledge that individual unless it's been voted on through or at a board meeting.
So I think the state statute does not give our board the ability to decide if we can fill it or not. The community voted, I forget what year, that we moved from a 6 to 7 member board. And we are obligated then by state statute to have 7 board members. So I think the word that which Terry stressed and what says in state statute is any vacancy on the board must be filled. It's not could be filled.
No, but let's finish the sentence
Must
there.
be filled by board appointment
But
at a
there's not
regular meeting.
There's not a number of days.
There's not a number of days because 4 of us have to agree.
Right.
And if 4 of us can't agree, they can't.
It's
we
not
can't-
about the, it's
yeah.
not about the 4. It's
Well, it is
the
about
question, agreed. I agree that you need the majority, but.
Yes.
But it's also stating that it doesn't say you must you must appoint someone within 90 days, within X period of time. You must show evidence that you're trying to hire someone. It just says that if a board makes the decision to add and fill the vacancy, it must be done at a board meeting, and a resolution needs to be approved to acknowledge that individual. And so, back to what Director Reckenberger asked, again, this is where I'd like to do some more research on, do other districts do it differently? And again, this is what, Terry Morrow shared on, through MSBA. Do we discuss with legal already as well? Did
Yeah,
they say
legal
that
also,
we
yep.
must do it, and if we
Yep.
don't, what happens if we don't?
I don't know legally what happens if we don't. I think personally, we have an obligation to the community to have this conversation and
Totally agree.
and to fill it, right?
That's fair.
I think from a community perspective, the more time we waste talking about a vacancy that we potentially could fill, I'd rather use our time to work on other projects, but we can just continue to talk and never make progress. But it is required that
Well, I don't think it is required, and I think
you
that's.
must fill the vacancy.
But let's finish the rest of that sentence. You must fill the vacancy at a school board meeting, correct?
Correct, that's where you would vote on the person.
Right.
Right.
So let's,
But am I?
Yeah.
Let's
Oops,
hold-
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Director Swanson.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what we want to avoid is us wasting a lot of time not appointing anyone. And to that end, I'd be in support of Director Reichenberg's idea of, let's just agree that whoever the newest board member that's not currently serving that gets the most votes in the November election, we'll move forward with appointing them. They'll be on the board a month earlier than normal, than they would otherwise be. Then we'd be satisfying the requirement that it must be filled at a special meeting or regular meeting. And then we don't waste any time trying to see if we can get a 4 votes to appoint a prior board member, so.
Would you need to wait 30 days?
Yes,
I don't know.
you do.
So if the
You still
election
need
is
to-
November 5th.
So this person would start in
Then they would start
December.
in December, which would be
November
a month earlier
A
than
month
they'd
earlier.
normally be seated.
But
Because they'd be
can-
seated in January.
Oh, because it is an appointment.
Yeah, and I think my question with that I don't disagree, I mean, I think it could work, is I think it's hard to be onboarded separately. So if we're going to onboard 3 new board members potentially, or 4 new board members potentially, I don't know, could it be 4? I haven't done the math, 3 or 4? Then we just have to think about how we train them
Or
in.
could be 1.
Right. Or it could be 1, right, it
Yeah,
could be 1.
could be the only
Yeah,
one,
Director
yeah.
Reichenberger.
Yeah, kind of getting back to what Mr. Morrow said. There's 30 days to petition an appointment, is that correct? Is that what you said? What occurs when, if the public comes up, offers a petition, and what's the ramifications at that, what are the consequences at that point? Do they get the seat? Do they not get the seat? Where do we go from that standpoint? That offsets the timeline then, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would assume they wouldn't get the seat.
Right,
Have to
they want to get the seat.
Yeah.
Right, you have to start your process over in terms of identifying the person. Yeah. I
What's the
think,
petition look like? Like, how many names do we need? Is it like,
Is it
do they need 1,000?
yeah, I think it's 1,000.
1,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
I only want to encourage us to think about, we've had basically opinion provided, that Amber has done some good investigative work here in terms of MSBA providing some input as well as our legal team. So at this point, we do have input from both of them that we should attempt to fill
But see,
immediately.
sorry.
Yep, Director Thompson.
So our legal counsel says, and they interpret that statute saying that we have to attempt to fill, even though it doesn't say the word attempt.
No, attempt is not part of, I think why the word attempt is being used is that if we are unsuccessful as a group of 6 in having at least 4 or more of us agree on a process and then also agreeing on a person, this could go on forever. It could go on for 100 hours, right, where we're just talking and talking and talking. I think we've seen this happen in the state, right, at other school boards. Yeah. And so I think that's why the word attempt is being used, but the state statute is that we must fill it. Yeah. Oh, so, are you done? Sorry, are you done,
Oh,
Brian?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Brian.
No, I want to be cautious because, yes, the word said must, but how I'm hearing you communicate the word must is saying that we must fill it. Whereas as I'm reading the statute says, I must fill it at a school board meeting.
So-
It doesn't state that I must fill the position, and then you need to vote on it. If it said that I must fill the vacancy, period, then I'm on board on that. But it doesn't say that, and so
How are
I'm.
you seeing it as different? I guess I don't understand how you see it as different.
Got it. So if I was having this is a terrible analogy. Let's say I'm going to Subway. That's terrible. I'm getting some food, right? But then it's I must eat food at Subway. That's I'm not thinking right now.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm following.
But how I'm reading, again, it says that if you want the vacancy filled and you want it to be official, it must be done at a board meeting. How I read it is, or how I'm hearing it, and this is why I apologize, I'm not prepared. I would like a little bit more time to just read the state statutes to say, I don't think it's saying that I must fill the position. It says, if you do fill the position, or sorry, if you want the vacancy filled, it must be done at a board meeting. That's how I'm interpreting it.
No, that is definitely not. That is not accurate. That's not how legal or MSBA would advise.
Okay.
We must fill it, and the process to fill it has to be a formal vote of the board.
Then can I get correspondence on that from legal? Because I don't think that's accurate. Because I know there are other districts that have not filled
Right.
their positions.
Because they can't get a majority to vote yes.
Other than,
Correct.
and I don't know if we've got past precedents at our school board not filling a vacancy or choosing to delay when to do the vacancy.
You can
Because what's the timeline? Like,
So maybe this is also helpful. Terry Morrow from MSBA also sent me the timeframes if the resignation had happened at a different time. So if you are less than 90 days until the seat is up for election, you do not need to fill. You can just leave it open until the election, and then that person who wins the seat takes over.
yeah.
90 days before the end of the term.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. We're in that window of 2 years to 90, right?
Yes.
If it's more than 2 years left on the term, which is, our school districts had this situation with your position, the school board is required to run a special election. So it's like, it depends on the time frame by which the school board has to do certain things. Does that make sense?
I agree.
Yeah.
I understand
Yeah.
that 2 year to 90 day window.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Director Carbone.
Yeah, Director Cameron, August 3rd, roughly, which is about a week away, brings us within the 90-day period. And before
the election.
Before the election, right,
not-
which is,
No, it's of the term ending, which is January, whatever.
so it's not to the point of the election, because,
No.
okay, so let me say this a different way.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we do have a deadline that's coming, and it's November 3rd. If tonight we voted on somebody, we'd need to do a 30-day to the public. So now we're down to about, about 2.5 months before the election. I mean, the window that we have, and assuming that we're going to have a vote or two that's going to be 3 to 3, 3 to 3, 3 to 3, and then we go to a 30-day, we're really close to November 3rd, I think, personally. So that being said, would it not behoove us to have work session and see if we can, as a group of 6, even identify people who might be good candidates. And number 2, we don't even know if they would be interested in coming back.
Well,
Yeah, and I should say, my goal tonight was not to identify the person that we should vote on
No,
or
I-
even vote on
and
people.
I
right?
understand that. I'm
Just to talk
I'm-
about what process we want.
Right, I'm
Yeah.
just making a point, not
Okay.
necessarily
Yeah, yeah,
like we
okay.
should pick somebody
Yeah.
tonight.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, Director
Yeah, I mean,
Anderson?
I don't think any of us really wants to do what we have to do. That's my read on the table. But this is like where we have been told what we are supposed to do. So Brian, I think it's fair to get additional information that maybe has been shared, or we can share that out.
yeah, I can research.
But my sense is, or I guess my perspective is, we have legal counsel from MSBA, we have our own personal legal counsel, both telling us the same thing. So I think to be respectful to our community, we should generally follow what the guidance is. I don't think the school boards of past have consistently taken the same approach necessarily.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that doesn't necessarily mean that we should not follow the guidance. Like, at this point, we have guidance. So I would say if we can certainly talk about it more tonight, or talk about it at future meeting, but it does feel like we have to move forward with something.
When's our next working session? Is that 11?
August 11.
Okay.
I personally am liking the idea of the 4th, or the top vote getter who does not currently serve on the board could be brought forward to the next board meeting, which would be probably end of November. I don't know my dates off the top of my head. Whatever the next meeting is
It
after
would
the
be
election.
10th?
Or it could be November 10th.
You can make it a special.
We could. And then if the board agrees to that person, we still have to agree to that person, then do the 30 days. So they could start early December. And in the interim, I would be interested in having a conversation about bringing back a retired board member. Because I think that satisfies the state statute, but also then they'd be here for a very limited amount of time, and could participate.
So,
Director Anderson?
did you get the sense, did this get floated at all to legal counsel as an option, the former of what you're
Yes.
talking about? And did they say that would be consistent with statute?
Former
Or would it be
meaning the
within
election?
lines?
The election?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could appoint anyone at any time to the board. So I think there can be an agreement that the person who gets that vote, or that we could vote on that plan, and that can be the plan.
But then we are sitting with a 6-person board for the next, which I want to make it very clear. I'm playing devil's advocate here because I feel like that's probably the most straightforward process. But is that consistent with the statute in terms of we must appoint a member because we're a 7-person board, and otherwise we're going to operate for the next 5 months with
No,
one?
but that's what I'm saying is that appointing in November, we could have 2 appointments, basically. Appointing the person in November who's the highest vote getter, who's not currently sitting on the board, and in the interim between now and then, asking
Oh, so we're still having a prior board member
a
come
board
in.
member.
That
Yep.
was what was missing.
Yep.
I'm researching, but are we gonna discuss, can we just discuss this at the next board meeting or the next working session? Or are there more discussions on this?
Yeah, we can opt for that. I mean, I think it would be helpful to know what additional information, besides having it written by our legal counsel, what I just reported. If there's other things that people need to know. Yeah, Director Eichenberger?
I think the election is a very practical way of elevating somebody to the board. It seems like it's the timing that works so well. In the interim, I personally don't have a problem with how we want to handle this, either by an appointment or by a nomination process or what have you. The problem that it does have is that I don't know how, I mean, even among past board members, if we're all going to have enough people to agree on a particular person to bring up to the board. I'd like to have that if it's possible, but I don't know if it's plausible.
Well, and I think we have to try,
Yeah.
I think that's where you bring forward ideas and see if people are comfortable with that or not. Yeah, Director Swanson?
I don't think we can do an interim and then a second one from the election, because you'd be, appointing somebody and then saying, hey, but guess what, your appointment's only going to last until, December 7th, and then appointing a second person. So I think it has to be
I can ask that
one or
question.
the other.
Yeah, I can ask that question and ask both Terry and our legal to answer, because if that's the case, then we can't do our November election plan.
We could.
Not at the moment, we couldn't.
Why not?
Because state statute says we have to fill this position.
We would be-
if it's more than 90 days before January, whatever the day in January
Correct,
is.
but you'd be filling the position with the highest vote getter who's not currently on the board.
But not now.
But it doesn't say you have to do it now.
That's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
It does say, but it says
Cool.
we must fill it.
Yeah, when we'd be filling it, right?
Eventually, we would be.
Yeah.
Can we adopt the idea of it with an unnamed placeholder? I mean, it's basically whoever wins that non-board seated person who ends up with the highest votes. Can we phrase that and then have, if there's a petition period, have the public come forward in that 30 days and just petition whether or not the plan is sound or not?
No,
rather
it's about a
the
specific
person?
candidate. Yeah, it's about a specific name.
Okay.
Yeah, not petition about
Just
the
a thought.
process. Yeah, Director Swanson?
I mean, can we use that as the fallback and then just not waste as much time on, because I mean, like you said, there are school districts that waste tons of meetings on this and never come to a consensus or get 4 out of the 6 people to vote on somebody. So I'd hate to be here until 2 a.m. like some districts and still not get a candidate.
Director Anderson?
What if because I feel like the messaging we're receiving from legal counsel is we need to be making reasonable efforts toward fulfilling the vacancy. So what I really don't want to do is 2 things. One, like you're saying, have a very drawn-out process and nominations and interviews, and that just takes away from the work that we should be doing. And I also don't want to be really discussing why or why not people want certain past board members to be on this board. So one idea, we're continuing to show good faith effort, is to bring one person forth every time we meet, and we just vote on that person, yes or no. We don't talk about it, we just vote.
I don't like that.
Ooh,
I mean,
that.
Yeah.
Go
So are
ahead.
we gonna
and I mean,
spend time?
well, I totally get yours. I understand your point of view and why you would want to do that, but every board member here has their obligation and their right, and it's like they should have a voice on who they want. Yes, there's 6 board members, and I want to be super candid. Like that 7th board member may weigh in on significant conversations or topics that we might have between now and end of December. And so by not being able to have a voice around if I like or don't like or whatever on a candidate, I'm not aligned on that. So just voting yes or no, just like we need to be able to share a point of view, in my opinion, as part of the process.
So you want to spend time digesting for everyone why a past board member would be a good addition or not?
We talk about $230 million budgets, we talk about positions, we talk about curriculum. We're talking about a 7th member to be a representative of our community. Why wouldn't we want to talk about them?
I think we could, not necessarily, if we were to consider a board member, they could submit something to the board about why they would think they would be a good candidate. But just based on behavior I've seen at this table with past board members, I don't necessarily know that I want to engage in that kind of process, especially when we think about what our role as a board member is in terms of talking about previous boards. There's policy on that. So I want to be really careful about, and I don't know that that would be possible.
I think
Well, I don't even-
I think why MSBA suggested that some boards choose to bring back previous board members is because the community, at one point at least, had elected that person into this role. So it gives it more validity than just a random person who's, the community's never vetted. So I think that's the reason why they suggested that, is that Lakeville has voted for these people before.
That's fair.
Yeah, Brian, yeah.
And again, we don't have to go with a previous board member.
No,
I
definitely
mean,
not.
And I don't know, I mean, it sounds like some folks might be aligned in a previous board member. We don't even know if these previous board members may even be available or not. And
Yep.
so there's no voting going on right now, or are we deciding to make a decision, or are we going to have conversations around how we want to do this process now, or are we going to discuss it at a working session? Are we going to, how are we going to formalize what we're doing, or are we just having just dialogue now?
My hope was we would get to a vote on process tonight, but it doesn't sound like people are able to do that tonight. So we can gather more information and bring it to a work session. I can find out specifically about appointing the top vote getter who's not currently serving, how that would work in terms of the state statute and timeline, and have both MSBA and our legal counsel write an opinion on that, to be shared at our next work session. And then the board can continue talking about process at that point. Yeah. But I think I'm too like Carly. I think within reason, I would like to focus on the work rather than the vacancy. And we could spend as much time as we want talking about the vacancy. And so if we can make progress, I think that would be helpful, but. Yeah.
And I don't see it as listed as a recommended action for today in any approval of that. So we can discuss it at the next session.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are people
And then
comfortable with that?
I'll do some more research, because again, candidly, I'm interpreting the language differently, but if legal says this is how they would interpret it,
Yeah.
then so be it.
Right.
So.
Carly asked a question, do we have to vote on the process? No, it's not required. We can just come to consensus. However, I personally would feel better if we voted, just so that it was clear where the majority of the board would like to go in terms of filling the vacancy, so that there's no gray later.
Sure.
I think it's just clear then.
We've talked about whether or not we can have votes at work sessions,
Right,
which,
we don't have to vote on the next work session necessarily.
yeah, but then what this is doing is kicking a can a month down the road, which perhaps everyone is perfectly fine with, given the conversation tonight, but that is what would be happening. I mean, an alternative is we at least make it very clear what, different perspectives are, but
You want me to just
We vote
nominate Brett
next
Nicholson? I mean, he was just on the board 7 months ago. Can we just be done?
he was not elected previously.
But he was a board member.
He was appointed. They've advised elected by the community.
So we're gonna,
I don't think we're at the point of throwing names out. I think other board members have clearly said they don't want to do that tonight.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you want to start doing that, we can, and have votes, but I'm hearing that people want more time to digest to bring it to a work session.
yeah.
Director Swanson?
I mean, at some point, we're going to get to the point where we're throwing names out and probably
Oh, yeah.
voting, if you want to
Yep.
do it that way. Yeah, because I'm guessing we're not going to do an application process. I don't think anybody's interested in that, or an interview process.
Well, I think that's important, though, to talk about. Like, I think some of us might know that our feelings on that. I don't know as a whole board our thoughts on that. And so I think that is the first decision is, do we want to have an application process where people can apply and there's a form they fill out and I have a sample form that MSBA sent, or do we want to do a nomination process? And our board has done both. They've done, when Brett Nicholson came, it was a nomination. When Robin Richards came, it was an application process. And when Tony Reichenberger came, it was an election. That's not an option for us right now, right? But there's been all of these methods to fill vacancies. Yeah, so I'm interested in hearing from the board how they want to handle that first before we get to names, I guess. Because if the board wants to do an application process, then there's no point in discussing names.
So does anyone want to do an application process?
Yeah, well,
No,
Dr.
I
Carbone.
have a comment. I'm not,
Yeah, go
I'm
for
not
it.
raising my hand to do an application process, but did we not just go in an application process, which ended 5 o'clock today, to find people who actually want to run for a 4-year term? And I think it hit the wall at 8. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't looked at it I didn't look at it at 5 o'clock. So I think it would be very difficult to troll the community again and see if there are people who would want to put an application in for 3 months or whatever it is. When I think we probably got as many people stepping forward as possible, the 8 for a 4-year term. I mean, that just seems like a very low probability to me.
You mean low probability somebody would put their name in?
Yeah, for 2-3 months or whatever it is.
Well, to play I'm not in favor of an application process myself, but to play devil's advocate, I do know of people for both city council and for school board who did apply through through an application process because they didn't want to campaign. They don't want to be part of that, but they felt called to step up through an application process. So there's multiple people I know who have done that, but they would never run for office. So
Right, but I think it's the time span.
right, and I'm not defending
it's
it. I'm
not
just saying
necessary- yeah.
I don't know if it's
Yeah.
always the same crop of people who would apply for
Right,
different processes. Yeah. Director Swanson.
Is your preference to go prior board member?
My personal preference is, and I'm interested in, can we appoint the person who's the top vote getter also? I'm interested in, can there be a dual thing here? I'm not sure. And maybe that's something for sure to find out before the next conversation. And the only reason I think that is because I think they don't need to be onboarded. And I'm hoping we could maybe agree on one person who served previously. I think there's many we probably won't agree on, but I don't know. Yeah. So, okay. I will find, I'll get the legal opinion in writing for you, or for the whole board, but especially for Director Thompson. I'll find out about this highest vote getter option and how that would work, both if that became our sole option and how the timeline then works from now until then. And also, and then are there other options related to that? So if we could fill the vacancy earlier and then switch to that person at the time after the election, or if we're unable to do that. Okay, Director Thompson.
yeah, I would like to maybe go back and look at when was the previous appointment done, just the days, because I believe we had a vacancy sometime in August, and then we had an extended period of time until the actual election, I believe, right? Because I think former Bree, is it early August or something like that. And so I'm just trying to think through the dates, because early August through August, September, October, the previous board, you and I, we waited 90 days for that vacancy to be filled, because we we wanted to wait until the vote getter position, the fourth vote getter, right?
Yeah, and I believe in that situation, the person who vacated within the 90
So if it was
days.
within 90 days, you'd have to vote, you'd have to stop, you'd have to, October 1st, October, November, December. So if she resigned, I believe, early August, we as a board waited all of August, September, October, and then November. So we waited more than 90 days and decided, hey, we're going to go with the fourth vote getter. And then Brett Nicholson, I believe. When did he start? Early December? Did we wait 30 days for him? I would assume
Yeah.
so.
Had to wait
Okay,
30 days.
so now I'm not saying there's precedence, but not the previous, we were on the board, we waited 90 days.
Well, and I think we have to be careful. I don't think precedents, there's state statute, and then there's precedents. So maybe I don't want to say your board didn't follow state statute, but it's possible. So I think we should just make sure that, we are complying with law.
I think we did that, and now we have very clear guidance from two sources that I don't think we should ignore.
Well, did we get in trouble for doing what we did?
I'm not saying we're going to get in trouble. I'm saying
I'm just-
we are reporting out what has been shared with us by two legal counsel sources.
I'll also find out the answer to the question, what happens if we don't? Right? Like, yeah, hopefully not turn into a.
Yeah, and so I want to acknowledge,
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to
Nothing will
I'm not trying to not fill the vacancy, but I just want to understand what are our options.
Yeah.
And what pathways can we go? And we can discuss it more at the next working session. Then we've got another board meeting. We can vote on the process, vote on the individuals, whatever it may be. And whether it be the application process or a former board member. I mean, we also have to agree that there may be, and I don't know, I mean, we still have 6 more months or 5 more months of this particular calendar year. And again, a 7th board member, let's be candid, may sway a decision. And so I want to make sure that we are aligned on the individual that we select and whoever it may be, because there's going to be important decisions that still need to be made. We've got a $11 million levy, operating levy. Is it 11? We have an $11 million operating levy that we as a board can decide on to vote, to approve just through a voice vote between now and November, if that's the timeline, right? I think. And so, like, we have to vote on it this year. Am I mistaken?
I'm looking at the date.
Well, maybe that's next year.
That was next year.
I think it's next year.
Is it next year?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think this year we're kind of,
I don't think we have to vote.
We don't have anything this year?
I'm trying not to,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right, because we might have needed to do it in June or July.
And I think where I'm coming from, Brian, is that to Director Swanson's point, I don't want to spend unnecessary time filling the vacancy. I think we should be thorough and comprehensive, of course.
Yeah.
And I would love to work towards a solution that we can all get behind and support.
Yeah.
So that's my goal. I'm not coming in here with any agenda.
Yeah.
I'm coming in, my agenda is to create a plan that all of us feel good about and hopefully identify someone that we all can feel good about. That's my goal. Yeah, Director Swanson?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it seems like our legal counsel is saying this is the best practice, right? I mean, the statute, we can all look at it, 123B.09 subdivision 5 does not specify, hey, this is how you have to do it. The appointment must be made at a regular or special meeting, but it doesn't say you have to do it in this time frame using this mechanism. So, Brian, to your point, I think we can do what we want, right? And if you don't do anything, are you in violation of the statute? Yeah. And that's where it's like, you should try. But what that looks like and how long it takes, is up to the 6 of us. And so I'm on board with whatever's efficient. If we can't come to an agreement, I think the election idea is a good way to just break that, and then we don't have to worry about a split, and then we can get on with our normal business and get more done than arguing about whether or not we want to
Right.
seat this person or that person.
Okay. Anything else for tonight on this topic? Okay.
Just one
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
item,
Director.
knowing that we're going to be discussing this a little bit further at the coming work session. It might be helpful for people to prepare and circulate some names, maybe even contact some of these people to see if they are interested in doing so, if they're appointed. Just so that when we discuss this at the next work session, we know who's in, who's not, and can talk a little bit more in depth about how we're going to proceed.
Sure. I mean, I think individual board members can have conversations about this, but not as
Correct.
not as a,
Right.
and I'm saying this more for the community,
But you
not
see-
as a collective. We cannot have those conversations.
But you see what I'm saying is maybe, circulate names to you of people that might fit that role.
Yeah, or individually, you could
Yeah.
think about this and bring ideas forward if you haven't. I mean, we've talked about some options, probably not all options tonight, obviously. So if something percolates between now and then, bring that to the work session, for sure. Okay, good? Okay. All right, moving on to 6A. We do, however, need to elect a new school board clerk, because the resignation left that vacant too. So with that, is there any nominations, self-nomination or otherwise, for the position of clerk? Yeah, Director Swanson.
I nominate Paul Carbone.
All right.
I second.
Oh,
So-
really, me?
I didn't hear it. Seconded by Director Thompson. And I have to do this process, right? Are there any other nominations for clerk? Are there any other nominations for clerk? All right, hearing none. Director Carbone, you are elected by acclamation to clerk.
Thank you all.
I have some work for you after the meeting.
Would you like this?
You're going to need that.
And you're going to need to sign a bunch of stuff, so do not take off.
In the old country.
But I haven't signed it. Oh, okay.
Make sure he knows, you got to sign this evening.
Yeah, you can't leave.
Can I just sign?
You
the
do
top
have a
of the
job,
front?
actually. You do have to.
All right, we'll move to 6B, approval of the LASA contract. Director Albrecht, I assume you're coming forward? Thanks. And can you, again, say what LASA stands for?
Lakeville.
Sorry, testing.
Lakeville Association of School Administrators.
Okay, thank you. So those are principal groups.
Principals,
Okay.
assistant principals, yes.
Okay,
Yes. So you have before you this evening a tentative agreement reached with LASA, which is our school administrators. The agreement includes a 2.5% increase to salaries year one of the contract and a 2.5% increase to salaries year two of the contract. Language also included is an increase in longevity, an increase to higher ed stipends, and HRA contributions. This is a package that falls within board parameters and is recommended for approval by administration.
All right, is there a motion to approve the contract as presented?
So moved.
First by Reichenberger, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Anderson. All right, questions or discussion? Director Thompson.
Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't see a copy of the actual contract in our board book. I was just wondering if you could highlight, I mean, the description that was provided, I mean, are those the only changes of consequence in the agreement?
I'm not sure that contracts are typically attached in the board minutes, but I can go through what I have in the tentative agreement if you would like.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
helpful.
Let's see, for longevity, the continuous years of service longevity, that is increasing from $2,000 to $2,500. And at 16 years, from $4,000 to $4,500. And then there was an added step at year 21 of $6,500.
Sorry, what was that?
$6,500. For the, let's see, the higher education degree stipends for the 26-27 school year, that is also increasing by $500, so from $5,000 to $5,500, and from $2,500 to $3,000. And then
You just-
I'm
one-
sorry?
Can you explain what the higher ed stipend is?
Is that the higher ed stipend that's for like a?
It's a separate degree, higher degree.
So if they have like a PhD or a
Right, it's-
doctorate in
right,
education
it's
rather
like-
than a principal license?
Right,
is
it's
that-
like when the teachers move across the salary schedule, this would be the equivalent for administrators.
Because they're required to have a principal license, but then not required to have a PhD.
Like some of
or
them
a-
get a superintendent's license.
Right, or a superintendent license, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then another $500 increase for 27-28. And then the early retirement increase, that is currently at $13,500. That is increasing by $500 to $14,000 with a max cap contribution of $140. And then the second year of the contract, it goes up by another $500. And the total package is 8.23%.
Total package is 8.2?
Yeah.
Okay. Director Thompson?
Yeah, as I read the agenda, and so thank you for that, the 8.23, something like that. So at the beginning of all negotiations, the board generally sets core key parameters financially or percentage-wise, and each union kind of works within that percentage. And so the LASA contract, it falls within the percentage that everyone else is in. Is that accurate, or?
When I settle these contracts, unless there is a necessary need for a market adjustment, I try to get every contract settled as closely as possible. I'll never be able to get them all settled at exactly the same package amount, but I try to get them as close as possible.
Okay. And this is like within the
It's
range?
0.04.
Okay, so very close.
From the teacher's contract.
From the
Yes.
teacher's contract to
Yeah.
everyone else's contract. Got it,
Yep.
got it. Yep.
Director Thompson?
So not on the contract specifically, but I do think that as a board, we may want to try to, we may want to review kind of our process and how we do contracts in the future. While having them come at a board meeting and approving it, I think there may be value in having higher frequency and cadence and hearing the progress and the status and having, well, unfortunately, more meetings, but to hear kind of where things are at beyond just LASA with LEAF and all the others as well. And so I am good with this contract, but I think operationally, it's something for us to look into. That's all.
I think I've heard that from a few board members now, and so definitely discuss that going forward. I know, are there upcoming contracts that we haven't not settled, or?
We have, so the LASA contract and the custodial contract, they are on an off-year schedule, so
Okay.
their contract is 26 to 28.
Yep.
The only one we have left are custodians.
Okay.
And just for context, we met with LASA 2 meetings, total of maybe 2.5 hours combined to get this settled. And LEAF was, gosh, I think we met, 3 times
Yeah.
to get the contract settled.
I think I've heard from some board members that it'd be helpful to just hear maybe a report, and it could be in Friday notes, but maybe also have more closed sessions about what contracts are coming up, and here, a reminder, here are the parameters that we're working within, and kind of updates on how it's going. So I think that works. Yeah, Director Swanson?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see the contract with the draft or proposed amendments to, similar to what we did with the teachers' union contract. So, just so we can track with it and see what the offers are and the counteroffers have been. So-
Yep. Yeah, once we get that updated, we can get that sent out to you.
And then this might be a question for Bill, just for context, what is the percentage of the LASA contract percentage of our annual budget, roughly?
The total contract that lasts is right around $7 million.
Okay.
Director Anderson?
Yeah, I'm all for all the information, us being informed, but I also think like you're saying, how much of that can maybe come through the superintendent updates as opposed to like separate meetings, just because it does seem like the teachers' union contract is the one that gets done first, and like we have to operate in these parameters, and then that kind of sets the stage for the rest of the negotiations, it feels like.
Yeah, as your executive director, I wouldn't want to see something that would potentially slow the process down,
Right.
especially for LEAF and LASA. I mean, we did this so quickly, I would hate to have to put that off to be able to schedule a session to update the board on what is happening when we know we're going to get it settled really quickly, but that's just my opinion.
If we can get it through another means, that might satisfy all parties in terms of feeling like
Yeah.
we have the
Right.
information, and also we're not dragging the process or
Right.
slowing it down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Director Thompson, then Swanson?
Yeah, I think you're right. But the board did give a financial percentage parameters, how and what gets done between the union and the agreement. It's really, in my mind, like, whatever, this is what we have. Here's what this is how we're sharing it with all the other unions as well. But if I heard correctly, $7 million is total, so 3% of our $230 million budget is allocated towards this union contract. Okay.
Superintendent Baumann?
I would just say, I acknowledge your request for maybe more cadence in reporting. I will make sure you have that.
Great. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, there's a first and a second. All in favor of approving the LASA contract, say aye.
Indulge me, I think it's good to talk about our kids and what they're doing, our staff and what they're doing. So I'll start with the Cougars. They took second place in the 2026 Clay Target State Tournament. So congratulations to Lakeville South Clay Target team, and some interesting news there. Standout team performances include class of 2026 graduate Drake Fritz, who shot a perfect score of 100. And then class of 2026 graduate Mitchell Kelvey and incoming senior Connor Buchanan, who both shot 98. And incoming seniors Ruby Folkstead and Dylan Hutchinson, who each shot 95. In individual competition, Folkstead placed 7th in the women's division, making her second consecutive year on the podium. And she was also named to the female division all-state team. So congratulations to our performers there on the Clay Target State Tournament. Lakeville South alumni shine at the 2026 USA Games. Lakeville Area Schools is proud to celebrate 2 Lakeville South alumni who excelled at the 2026 USA Special Olympics Games held here in Minnesota from June 20th to the 26th. The USA Games brought together more than 2,800 athletes from across the country. So Brandon Gangle, class of 2008, brought home 2 gold medals in team and doubles bocce. I actually could pronounce that word.
Bocce ball.
Yeah, bocce ball, as well as a bronze medal in singles. And then Caden Rosseth, class of 2024, earned a bronze medal in singles tennis and a 4th place finish in doubles. So congratulations to Brandon and Caden on an incredible national performance. And then just a little plug here, annually as we get ready to go back to school, we have our Ready, Set, Achieve. And I want to highlight an important upcoming event that will occur on Thursday, August 20th from noon to 4 p.m., where we'll be hosting our 13th annual Ready, Set, Achieve at the Lakeville North High School location. And this event provides free school supplies, immunizations, and other community resources for students enrolled here in Lakeville area schools. So we value our community partnerships to make this event a success. You can support Lakeville students by donating funds, new school supplies, or volunteering your time. We ask you to visit our website at isd194.org/RSA, which stands for Ready, Set, Achieve, to learn more about how to get involved. And we appreciate any and all help that we can get for that wonderful event for our students. That, Madam Chair, is my report.
Great, thank you, Superintendent Baumann. All right, with that, I think we're at the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Reckenberger, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Thompson. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Well,